Lady Gaga, the wokest. I mean, I can't say the wokest. She's in the top percentile of woke Hollywood elites. It gets no woker than her. Okay? It gets no woker than Lady Gaga. Okay? Her dogs were violently jacked from her dog walker. And salute to all the dog walkers out there. That's such a great job, you know. You're doing a great service because people with pets, they need to go to work. They need their dogs taken care of. I'm good friends with a lady in my building. She's a dog walker. She watches people's cats. She does it all. Very good person. You know, she's an Aquarius older lady, but whatever. Great job. If you're ever looking for a job and you can't find a job, a dog walker is a good job to get. You just look in the Craigslist or in the listings, and you can find work as a dog walker. They pay very good too. Pays more than working at McDonald's or Walmart. Now, Lady Gaga's dogs were taken in a brutal robbery. This was a brutal robbery. And before we get into that, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Make sure you check out all my channels. I have premieres dropping on all my channels. This is not the only channel where I have premieres dropping nightly. I have premieres dropping nightly on other channels that I have in my network. So make sure you subscribe to all of my channels. The links are in the description box. Okay? So you can see all the content that I do. Because some of you guys are saying that you're not seeing this content. And make sure you hit that PayPal and that Super Chat and that and importantly that Cash App. But most importantly, hit that Super Chat if you can while we're doing these premieres, to show support for the channel so we can continue to do this content, because we don't get the same thing unless you guys support the channel. It's up to you guys to support the channel. Salute to all you guys though that have. Appreciate you. Now, let's get into this footage. Okay, so as you can see, Lady Gaga's dogs were taken in a violent robbery. And Lady Gaga is asking for not only the public's help, but she's asking for police to help find her dogs. After spending the entirety of last year complaining about the police and whining about the police and talking about how the police were so racist and calling for the police to be defunded. This rich woman, who's a millionaire 1,000 times over, was calling for cops who work the beats in these rough neighborhoods that Lady Gaga would never go to if her life depended on it. These cops who work these rough beats in these rough neighborhoods for $50,000, $60,000 a year, who are constantly criticized and ridiculed and accosted, and constantly every call is some crazy situation with some lunatic or some mentally unstable person or somebody who's just very antisocial. It's people are screaming at them while they're trying to make justifiable arrests. People are resisting. Just a terrible situation most days for these cops who make $50,000-$60,000 a year. And Lady Gaga, a pampered celebrity, called for these guys to lose their jobs en masse by defunding. Because when you defund the police, a lot of people don't know, when you defund the police, it takes certain units away. Certain units that the police department depends on are taken when you defund the police. Okay? Defunding the police is in New York, 600 officers lost their jobs when they defunded that police department. And countless civilians and citizens have been killed because the gangs have gone wild in New York and the criminals have gone wild, and it's not even safe to get on the train in New York now. But regardless, that aside, a lot of police officers lost their jobs that were doing great work in the city, things that you don't have to worry about every day. But Lady Gaga, a rich, pampered celebrity, called for these people to lose their jobs because George Floyd. Now, we're going to get into George Floyd. And as you guys know, I have an extensive, unfortunate criminal record, amongst other things. My whole life is not my criminal past. My whole life is not all of the weed charges and the robbery charges and the things like that. My life is not all that. I've lived a great life. I've done a lot of great things. I've been a lot of places. I've touched a lot of people's lives in positive manners. I've been to a lot of great places. I've been around a lot of great people. I've done a lot of positive things. However, I have done some bad things. I've been around, I grew up with people that it was what it was. Okay, it was what it was. I was around criminals from a very young age, and I like doing bad things. I like doing hood rat stuff with my friends. I like smoking with cigarettes. Okay, I like being bad when I was young. Stealing and robbing, all that stuff. I enjoyed that stuff. I did it because I wanted to. I would have ate at night. I would have had anything I wanted. My mom would have gotten me anything I wanted. I did not have to do it. I chose to do those things because I wanted to fit in. Now, George Floyd, the guy who Lady Gaga complained about the police about, he's the reason she complained to the police about the police all last year. She's the reason she wanted all these officers in these areas to lose their jobs. Well, here's one case that George Floyd caught. It's a robbery case. Aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon. Okay, and the details of this case are horrifying if you're a regular citizen. Now, if you're a criminal or a tough guy or whatever, you may think this is kind of funny or whatever. But if you're just a regular citizen like us, most of us watching this, this is horrifying. Okay? So it goes on to say, I'll read. Floyd, along with another suspect, posed as a worker for the local water department, wearing a blue uniform in order to enter the woman's house. Okay? So I've read the affidavit, all this and whatnot. And what happened was, Floyd, yes, he dressed up as the water department, knocked on the lady's door. She comes to the peephole. She's like, what's going on? He's like, I'm with the water department. So she opens the door thinking that he's in a uniform. He's a man. She opens the door. Immediately, he barges in. His buddies take the cue. They come in the house and they pistol whip the woman. They put a gun to her stomach. She was pregnant at the time. And they searched her house for money and drugs. Okay? All right? So that's what happened. he dressed up like in a uniform and knocked on and was going around, and they did this. He was with a group of guys called the Robinson Jackers, and that was what they did. They've all been convicted for those things, and he did his time in jail. But at the time of his death, he had already done his time in jail, but he was still on parole. Okay, so this was a guy. This wasn't like, man, I'm hungry, I want some bread. You see somebody drop their wallet and something, and you pick it up, or you catch somebody slipping. No, this wasn't. He was a robber. He was like, in the movies. He was a legit robber. He wasn't like just some guy at this time. Now, later on in his life, the drugs, and earlier in his life, he was up and down. He was all over the place. But during this stint of his life, he was very organized robber. Very organized, very, what do you call it? Very, very, I can't even think of the word. It was like heat. Have you ever seen Heat? How they used to go in and hit people, hit these places and get out? It's like he was like that. He was like Heat. Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, and Heat. Okay. And this stuff is not hard to find. Okay. This stuff is not hard to find. So he was not alone. He had a group of robbers. They went around and faked like they were with the water department and robbed people's houses. Lady Gaga, who called for officers to lose their jobs and not be able to work, and whole units on police forces were disbanded and abolished. The guys were sent to the unemployment line because Lady Gaga didn't like what happened to George Floyd. And I did a whole video on that on my other channel, Living Room Gangster. So make sure you go over there to Living Room Gangster. I'll put a link to that video in the description box as to why the officer will get off scot-free. Officer Chauvin will get off scot-free. He won't do a day in jail for the death of George Floyd. The trial's coming up very soon. He's going to beat those charges. But I did a video as to why he will. And you should go check that video out. Link will be in the description box. Now, you saw this brazen, obviously targeted attack on Lady Gaga and her dog walker, because those dogs are worth a lot of money. Those dogs are worth a lot of money, okay? Lady Gaga's dogs are worth a lot of money. That's why she's offering a $500,000 reward, because those dogs are worth a lot of money. That's how much they're worth, and those guys who targeted her dog walker knew that. So there was a targeted attack. Same thing Floyd used to do. Do you think that Lady Gaga, although she advocated for George Floyd and she made a big fuss about defunding the police because of what happened to George Floyd, do you think she would have wanted to run across George Floyd? Just asking for a friend. And this is what woke, privileged celebrities don't understand about defunding the police. When they say, let's defund the police, this is what they don't understand. This is the other side of it. When these different units have to be cut because some woke celebrities or some white liberal living in a $500,000 condo in some city where it's homeless people everywhere and poverty everywhere, but they're living in a $500,000 condo in the middle of the city, and they want to go out and protest, defund the police. This is what happens. What happened in Seattle. They cut the DUI unit because they had to. They looked at all of the units they had. The funding was cut, so they can't fund every unit. Something has to go. You can't get rid of the patrols because these patrols, you can't get rid of, the patrolling, keeping these white people in these rich neighborhoods safe. So the police that patrol these upper middle class neighborhoods where these white liberals live, you can't cut those police. They need their police. So we got to cut the DUI police.
Tonight, the King 5 investigators have learned the Seattle Police Department is disbanding its entire DUI squad.
This week, the interim police chief announced cuts are coming to specialized programs to get more officers out on patrol. As King 5 investigator Susanna Frame reports, DUI officers and advocates worry our community will see more tragedies on the road.
.186. That's more than double the legal limit, buddy.
For 50 years, the Seattle Police Department has included a DUI squad, men and women specially trained to spot impaired drivers, pick up on subtle clues during stops, and process the cases faster than other officers. What is your gut reaction?
It's a sad day. Again, because I believe in the mission personally.
Officer Eric Mitchell is the longest-serving member of the DUI squad, now in his 20th year. He says while any police officer can pull a suspicious-looking driver over, the specialists are often called to the scene, which they can process quicker, allowing the original officer to respond to 911 calls.
Where we get the edge is our experience. We do it so often, and we're trained to pick up on things.
On Wednesday, the department's new interim police chief announced he's putting 100 specialty officers and supervisors out on patrol to improve 911 response times and to cut down on overtime. The DUI unit elimination would come at a time when drug and alcohol-related fatalities are trending up in our state, from 215 deaths in 2011 to more than 270 in 2016 and 17, the most recent years available.
That is an entirely preventable crime, and it's also a crime that affects people across all communities.
Courtney Pop serves on the state's Mothers Against Drunk Driving Board and for years prosecuted DUI cases. She says impaired drivers are more often held accountable in court when a DUI police specialist prepares the case.
I would hope that the police department can see that there's a real value to a DUI squad in our city, and is there a way we can hold on to that?
I think everybody recognizes there's going to be a consequence. Because whenever we get somebody stopped that's driving while impaired, then we have potentially saved the community from experiencing a great tragedy.
The DUI squad got an email last night confirming they'll be disbanding by mid-September. They're hoping those in charge will change their minds before then. In Seattle, Susanna Frame, King 5 News.
So, people online have long memories, and because people in Hollywood have big mouths, and people are calling her out. People are calling her out for what she did all last year, calling for the police to be defunded, and now begging the police to find her dogs and the men who shot her dog walker and stole her dogs. People are calling her out. And some woke white people are making ridiculous statements like this. There's always some woke white asshole that's doing some stupid, saying something stupid. But the majority of people are calling her out. Okay? The majority of people are calling her out on her hypocrisy of not just forming a militia, or rounding up a few good men, calling the equalizer. Why is she called 911? Why is she calling the police? Why is she gonna allow the police to go find her dogs and the people who shot her dog walker? Why don't she call the equalizer? Call Queen Latifah. I don't feel sorry for her at all. I feel sorry for her dog walker, but I don't feel sorry for her at all. She deserves this. And if they don't find her dogs, I hope the dogs I hope whoever has the dogs treats them well. But I wouldn't care if she found her dogs or not. Because this defund the police narrative hurts black communities, and it hurts everybody. But it especially hurts black communities where most of the crime happens. But it hurts everybody. Except for her, who lives in a gated community. And now that it's starting to hurt her too, you think I'm gonna complain? Get in the comment section. Like, subscribe, donate. Peace. I'm out.